Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to dive into this lesson that I've drawn up for you today. The lesson title is going to be The Worst Wealth Building Lies Told by Finance Gurus. And so I've got some notes that I'm going to follow because I don't want to be controversial here. My objective isn't to degrade people or talk down on people's opinions or strategies, but more so just make sure you guys are being guided the right way by understanding not only good advice, but what advice can be misleading or just what advice we shouldn't follow at all. And so I think there's a that God has for us when it comes to us managing money in a way that honors him and aligns with biblical principles. And a lot of times I talk about those strategies from what we should do. I think today I'm going to talk about some things that are very popular this day and age that maybe we should avoid. And so, again, I have some notes here just to keep me on track to make sure my objective of just guiding y'all the right way is achieved. And so everyone's screaming about the secret to wealth building. You guys see it all the time, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, and your Facebook feed, or even, at family get-togethers. And it's so easy to jump on the bandwagon and believe what these financial gurus are preaching, right? But I can tell you straight up, most of it's not very good advice. It's incomplete and misleading at best most times. And not to say that people are being malicious with it all times, and again, I'm not talking down or degrading anybody, but at the same time, from a black and white standpoint, I scroll the internet and I listen to some of the advice that's being given out there, particularly around money, and I'm like, that is misleading at best. And so how do I know though, right? So if anybody's new here, this is your first time interacting with me, this logo up here is my company logo. It's called JFF, or Journey to Financial Freedom, where we do financial coaching for the faith-based and ambitious. And over the last 5 years, the company has turned into a multi-million-dollar business, and I've achieved financial freedom for my family and I, and most importantly, I've helped hundreds of clients do the same inside of my program that's called the Good Steward program. It's financial coaching for the faith-based and ambitious, and we've seen hundreds of people eliminate debt, build emergency funds, and create generational wealth through sound, time-tested biblical principles. And so as someone with real skin in the game, I've been doing this for 10 years now. Business has been in business and thriving for a little bit over 5 years at the point of me shooting this video. We've had hundreds, almost close to 1,000 people go through our program. I've got an amazing team of 10 that work for me. And I've been personally following this system for close to 10 years now that we teach inside of my program. And so I'm going to expose the 7 worst wealth building lies that are keeping people broke, anxious, and spiritually disconnected from how money is truthfully meant to work and what God actually wants us to understand about money. So let's go through that. Let's start with number 1, right? Number 1 is all debt is bad. I promise you that's not true, right? Stick with me, right? And so this one is loud in the Dave Ramsey corner of the internet, but it lacks nuance and creates more fear than freedom. And Dave Ramsey's a good dude. I'm not here to downplay him or disrespect him. He's done a lot of really good stuff. But what I've also found with his teachings is there's a lot of shortcomings, right? And I think a big part of them is around debt and also in totality. I think his teachings make people just feel like they need to live in this scarcity mindset all day long, right? And that's fear instead of true freedom. And so where does this come from? Likely from trauma of watching debt destroy families. And I get that. I literally watched my parents file for bankruptcy when I was 10 years old and lost everything because of that. That story is in a lot of my other content. And so I'm not out here saying all debt's not bad or you're silly if you think that, coming from no experience with that. My family lost everything because of credit card debt when I was 10 years old. But here's the truth. Not all debt is bad, right? And there's some good words on this screen here. Read through these. But really what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my definition of good debt and bad debt. So that's why not all debt is bad, because there is such thing as good debt and obviously still such thing as bad debt. Bad debt is buying things you don't need with money that you don't have with no plan on how to pay it off at a high interest rate, right? Good debt is leveraging other people's money at a no cost or low cost to increase your value, your opportunities, and your wealth, all right? And so in the Good Steward program, right, we teach how to recognize the difference, right? And I laid out a few examples there, right? But I've had clients who have leveraged good debt to start businesses, buy homes, and invest in themselves, and their net worth has multiplied because of it, right? Debt isn't the enemy. Irresponsibility is. And when you apply wisdom and strategy, debt can be a launch pad, not a landmine. And so I'm not saying, before I move on to point number 2, I'm not saying go to the mall after this and just rack up a whole bunch of debt. That's not what I'm saying, right? That's actually bad debt, right? But just understanding all debt is not bad. I want you to understand that there's a difference between good debt and bad debt. So I want you to take that away from this lie here, if you will, as we debunk a couple of more as we move on. All right. So lie number 2, you don't need to budget. This one drives me crazy. This is like kind of saying that you don't need to follow a workout plan or a diet to get 6-pack abs and get into tip-top shape. It doesn't make any sense, right? It wouldn't make any sense. Like not following a budget and being confused on why you're not progressing financially is like not following a diet and a workout plan and being confused on why you're out of shape, right? It'd be kind of silly. And so, want to stay broke and stressed forever? Cool. Don't budget. This is what I like to tell people, right? This lie comes from influencers saying things like, just make more money, or budgets are for broke people, or just manifest abundance and it'll come. A couple of things here. You'll never out-earn poor money habits, right? Budgets are not for broke people. I'm in the most transparent and humble way possible. I'm a multimillionaire and I still budget every single day, right? And I know so many people that have a lot of money that steward it God's way, right? And budgeting is a big part of stewarding something God's way. And so just manifest it and it'll come. You will not woo-woo your way to financial freedom, right? I've never seen somebody meditate their way to $1 million getting dropped on their front doorstep. Don't get me wrong. The internal world, the spiritual, the emotional piece to finances is very important, right? But you also have to get up and go act on that as well. And acting on that, or the visions and the downloads that we have in meditation in our quiet time with God, or on this from the spiritual side of things, is getting up and taking action, aka budgeting, right? Budgeting is stewardship in action. All right. Look, like I said, I believe in abundance. I believe in increasing your income. I'm not saying those things are wrong or bad, but ignoring money you already have is a recipe for disaster, because the number one thing holding people back from financial breakthroughs is not being a good steward of their current situation, because it's literally impossible to attract a better situation if you're not stewarding your current situation to the best of your ability. And if you're not budgeting, we can say right here that you're not stewarding your current situation to the best of your ability, right? And budgeting isn't about restriction. It's about intention. It's telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Inside the Good Steward program, right, budgeting is the first thing we teach because it gives people clarity, peace, and control over their finances. It's very hard to feel at peace with something that you don't feel that you have control over, right? And so if you're not budgeting, you don't have control or the objectivity or a plan around your finances, and you're just signing up for unnecessary stress, right? The majority of people's unnecessary or stress and anxiety around finances is unnecessary, and it comes from a lack of control, and that can be fixed with the budget. And budgeting doesn't have to feel like handcuffs or restrictions, which we'll get to here in a moment. Without it, you're just building wealth on sand. It's like guessing. It doesn't make any sense. You know, it's like budgeting is a number one tool that's going to help you accomplish all of your financial goals in the fastest, cheapest, most stress-free and trustworthy way as possible, in a way that aligns and honors God, right? It's kind of like trying to go build a house without a hammer, saw, screwdrivers, and all your tools that you would need to build a house, right? You probably wouldn't be able to do it, right? Same thing with your financial goals. You need your tools, aka the budget, to make it happen. All right, let's move on to lie number 2, because we kind of already gave a hint of what it is, right? Budgeting means cutting out everything you enjoy, right? I always say, like, yes, sacrifice out of strategy may be necessary from time to time, but sacrifice out of scarcity, that ain't it. That ain't it, right? And so budgeting gets a bad rap because most people associate it with deprivation. Like, I gotta cut out everything I love, right? No lattes, no eating out, no fun. That's not budgeting, that's punishment, right? The truth is, a good budget makes room for joy. Or a simple way to put it, I always say, I promise you, it is possible to make financial progress and live your life at the same time. You just need to be on the right system, aka the right budget, to show you how to make that happen and give you the confidence that it can happen. Right? It's not about cutting everything out, right? It's about prioritizing what actually matters. And if there's money left over for you to live your life, great, go do it. All right. We help our clients in the Good Steward program at JFF build what we call a values-based budget, right? And that means you save, you give, and you cover your responsibilities. And yes, you spend money on things you love guilt-free. Beautiful balance. All right. When your money aligns with your values, you stop resenting the process and start enjoying the journey to wealth. All right. And so I promise you, if you are on the right budget, you won't feel guilty about spending money. You'll actually feel empowered and excited about it while also making financial progress at the same time. Let's go to number 4 here. All right. More money equals more happiness. No. Let's get real, right? Like I again, money, I'm going to get to it in a second. Let me just read off my paper, right? If money solved everything, billionaires would never get divorced, depressed, or addicted, right? But they do, right? Yes, money helps. I'm not saying money doesn't matter. I hate when people say that as well, right? Money doesn't matter, or like, I don't care about money. It's like, tell me that when your mortgage is due. You know what I mean? But it doesn't give you purpose. Yes, it gives you options, but it doesn't give you purpose. And without purpose, you'll chase more and more and still feel empty, right? I love the quote that money is a great tool, but a terrible God. That's what I want you to take away from here. We have to understand the objective of money. And I was just telling somebody this the other day. When it comes to happiness, money is not the source of happiness, but it can be an amplifier. And let me give you an example. I love the car that I drive, and obviously I had to have money to be able to purchase a nice luxury vehicle, right? But it's not my source of happiness. It's not my identity. I don't find my purpose in it. But when I'm driving to the gym, it amplifies my happiness a little bit, right? But as soon as I hop out of that car and walk into the gym 5 minutes later, I'm back to baseline, right? Because it's not source of happiness. It's just an amplifier of happiness. And same thing with money, right? When you make a big deal, make a lot of money, get a big paycheck, it's going to bump your happiness for a little bit, right? Spark it for a second or two or a day or two, right? It's going to give you more options, relieve some temporary stress, but then you go straight back to baseline. And that's nothing wrong with that, which is understanding the objective, right, of money. And so we teach our clients to pursue purpose-aligned wealth, money that serves your mission, money that frees you to be generous, present, and impactful. We're not here to worship money. We are here to steward it. And when you do that, happiness becomes a byproduct, not a pursuit. And so I'm not against making more money, right? More money can open up a lot of doors. But once you, for one, learn stewardship, like actually build healthy money habits, and then two, understand what the true objective of money actually is. It's a great tool, but a terrible God. And God doesn't hate money. He hates greed. God doesn't hate money. He hates when we idolize things instead of him. And so before I move on, one of the biggest misconstrued Bible verses of all time is when people say money's the root of all evil. It's like, no, it's not what the Bible says. You're missing the most important part, which is the first part of that verse, which says the love of money is the root of all evil. Because if we love something based on the biblical translation of that word, it means we idolize it. And you can only idolize one thing at a time. So if we're idolizing money, guess who we're not leaving room for? God, right? And so that's where money becomes wrong, when we try to find our purpose and idolization in it, right? But if we keep God at the core, right, and we just realize money is just an awesome tool that God has blessed us with, that's when we get it right, and that's what God honors. All right, lie number 5, right? You need to take huge risks to build wealth. Don't get me wrong. I'm a risk taker, but I take risk, and we advise our clients to take risk in a calculated, controlled, and confident fashion. A big difference compared to what I'm going to read off here, right? This one feeds our impatience, right? Sometimes our impatience to be able to skip the struggle, be able to prove ourselves to other people through accolades, accomplishments, and achievements and possessions, right? And finally make it, right? It makes us impatient, which then allows us to give into the temptation to deploy strategies or give into advice that speeds up the process in a very toxic, unhealthy way. Again, don't get me wrong. There is a way to achieve financial freedom in a much faster way than I think the conventional way of, your 401k and relying on your pension one day. But at the same time, there's not get rich overnight schemes, right? And so like the go big or go home, take the leap, even if it's reckless, right? Like, no, massive risk equals massive reward. It's more so like play stupid games, expect to win stupid prizes, right? That's not wealth building, it's gambling. And again, risk is a part of the game. I think no risk is the biggest risk at all. But also we can't swing the pendulum and come over here and just take these ridiculous gambles, right? It's like there's a happy medium when it comes to risk. All right. So the truth, wealth is built on discipline, strategy, and time. Again, strategy is very important when it comes to risk because we need to take risk, but in a calculated, controlled, and confident fashion. We don't teach get rich quick. We teach get rich for sure, right? And that means building a strong financial foundation first. Like when clients first come to us, it's like before we start investing and growing your money and trying to make more money and earning passive income, let's make sure the foundations are laid so we're building wealth on stone, not sand, right? And so if you want to build a castle, you got to build a foundation for it to stand on. Right? Investing consistently, right? Whether that's in the stock market, in your business, in yourself, or into real estate, right? Learning how to invest. God calls us to be multipliers, right? Not to hoard our money and save it out of fear, right? And then letting compounding interest do that heavy lifting. And so our clients aren't taking wild swings. They're making wise decisions that compound over time. And that's how real wealth works. Again, I'm not against taking risks. You're going to have to take risk, right, when you're building wealth. But the question isn't whether there's risk there. The question is, do the rewards outweigh the risk? And the risk that we are aware of, can we do our best to mitigate it? Hope that makes sense. Right? We're not hiding out of fear, but we're also not investing in these get rich quick schemes that are putting us and our family at, a whole bunch of high risk. That's gambling. Lie number 6, giving is a luxury for when you're wealthy. Man, this one's hard to wrap your head around. I struggle to pay my bills right now, but a closed hand refuses blessings. An open hand is available to catch them, right? And so this lie is subtle but dangerous. You can't afford to give. Pay off debt first, then give. You take care of yourself before you take care of others. Again, there's some logic in here. And trust me, also, I've struggled with this before too, right? And still from time to time, right? But there's some logic in here. But I love the quote that what's logical isn't always biblical, right? And the only thing in the Bible that God says test him on is tithing, right? Is giving, right? It's blasphemy to test God, but God literally only time in the Bible God says test him is when it in Malachi when it comes to giving. He says, trust me on this, give faithfully, do it because you truthfully want to, and watch how I repay you. Let me be clear here though. We're not giving for the reward, right? That God's going to bless us. God knows our motives, and if that's your motive, right? If you do anything just because you think God's going to bless you as in return, that's your only and your main motive, like God sees that. You're not fooling him, right? But we want to give in a way because God is calling us to do that. We love God and we want to honor him, whether it's giving or anything he's asking us to do. But at the same time, it's okay to know that a byproduct of being obedient to what God is calling us to do, because we truthfully love him and want to honor him, a byproduct of that can be blessings, can be opportunities. And so especially when it comes to giving. And here's what the world gets wrong. Giving isn't a luxury, it's a mindset. In the Good Steward program, we teach our clients to give first, not because we're trying to be saints, but because it's transformational, right? Giving shifts your relationship with money. It takes you from like this clenching, scarce, fearful to generous, open, right? And when you're generous and open, you can receive. I went to this sermon years ago and the pastor brought somebody up on stage and he said, clench your hand like this, being symbolic to people holding on to money, not giving, right? And he dumped a huge jar of quarters over this person's hand, right? And what happened? They didn't catch any of it, right? He said, now open your hand. This is what happens when you're giving, right? You're not clenching on the money out of fear. You're open-handed. You're giving out of faith. And he repoured the quarters. And what happened? The person caught the quarters, aka the blessings. It's very symbolic for when you're closed hand, not giving, you can't catch the blessings God's trying to give you. But when you become open-handed and generous, right, you significantly increase the odds of catching the blessings that God's trying to give you. Right? It breaks the grip of scarcity and opens doors to deeper purpose and blessing. We've had clients give while still in debt, and somehow they move faster financially than they ever expected. Why? Because generosity creates flow, spiritually, emotionally, and even financially. But let me be clear here though, right? Like giving out of people pleasing and giving out of avoiding conflict is not biblical, right? It's not what I'm saying here. People pleasing is, I just want my dad to accept me. I just want my siblings just to finally think I'm successful, right? So let me give when they ask, right? It's like that ain't it. You got to ask yourself when you're giving, is this bringing me closer to God or further away? And there's no in between. The answer will be very clear, right? And so if it's bringing you closer to God, do it. If it's bringing you further away, then there's an answer there. And also out of avoiding conflict. And so I've often had people ask me for money and I give it to them because I don't want to tell them why I don't want to give them money, because I don't trust you with this. I don't think you're going to pay me back. You haven't paid me back in the past. Whatever that reason is, it usually ends up being controversial, right? It creates tension. And I want to avoid that sometimes. So I'm like, all right, just give them the $2,000 they're asking for and you can avoid an argument. Can't do that either. Right. So that's just a little bit of clarity there to help with some of the gray area with this. Last one. You can get rich overnight with this secret investment, right? Not to say that like there's not a possibility with some of this stuff, but the rewards do not outweigh the risk, right? This is the lie that sells the most, but helps the least. Everywhere you turn, someone's pitching this next crypto moonshot or real estate flips with no money down or day trading their way to millions. And again, not to say that there's not possibility here. Like I know some amazing day traders. One of my really good buddies is an awesome day trader and he teaches it the right way. I know a lot of people that, have great intentions and great strategies in the real estate world, and that, I'm not saying crypto's a bad asset, right? But when it's being pitched as overnight, right? Or just this get rich quick scheme, you can feel that. Right? You can feel that. They sell the dream and not the data, right? Don't get me wrong, you can build wealth with this stuff, but the probability and the risk are usually never displayed in an honest, genuine fashion. And so I've seen behind the curtain, but most of these overnight successes, they don't last. Wealth is slow. It's built little by little. And that's the biblical model. That's the wise model. I'm going to clarify here in a second that I'm not saying penny pinch and, you got to resort to the classic way of waiting till you're 65 to possibly retire. Like, my company, we do try to find you guys the fastest way to financial freedom, but in a way that's safe, calculated, and controlled, right? And if there will be risks, we understand those risks, the rewards outweigh them, and we do our best to mitigate the risks that we're aware of, right? And so, but when our clients stop chasing fast money and start focusing on consistent, value aligned growth, their life start to change. And so our approach is, let's start to save consistently, budget intentionally, invest wisely, and steward everything to the best of our ability. That will compound over time, right? One of my favorite books is The Compound Effect. It's not just about money solely, but it's about just really anything in life. Consistent actions over time, they start to compound little by little, right? And all of a sudden things start to really add up. But one of my favorite quotes is, things that happen all of a sudden don't happen all of a sudden, right? It took consistency over time, and finally things popped off, right? And that's how you build wealth that lasts. And so, but before I wrap this up, right, I'm not saying again that you have to succumb to the conventional way of, contributing to a 401k by going to a day job you barely like for 40 years to hopefully have enough money in that 401k to retire one day. There is a way to achieve financial freedom in the fastest, most fulfilling way possible, right? That is safe and smart. And so, not a topic for this lesson. I'm assuming on my YouTube page somewhere, we're about to be done with this video, you can go find something on that, right? But speaking of wrapping up here, I just wanted to, for one, again, address that gray area, right? And then two, just wrap up here. All right. So those are the worst wealth building lies that financial gurus are feeding people every single day. And I'm not degrading or putting anybody down. And I'm not saying that some of those topics that we talked about today don't have some people in those spaces doing it the right way, right? But what I am saying is that I want to clarify some things today just to best guide you. Remember, that was my objective with this video. So I hope you leave here today feeling better guided, right? And if you're sick of the noise and ready for clarity, peace, and real results, especially in a way that honors God, then I want to invite you into something better. There, tap this video on the screen. There, it'll be somewhere here on the screen, right? And check out a video that I've created called How to Manage Your Money Like the 1%. This is going to be teaching you how to manage your money with wisdom, peace, and purpose, like the top 1% of people are doing, particularly in a way that honors God without all of that outdated, fearful, and restrictive feeling finances usually brings on people. And so if you like this video today, do me a favor. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who you know is being lied to online or just needs better guidance with their finances. And so stay wise, stay faithful, and I'll see you in the next video, and God bless.